At one point in my career, teaching was my passion. It truly was. It was my passion. I loved teaching. I loved creating teaching resources for my students, but I knew that it just wasn't long-term going to work for me, and this is why I transitioned to instructional design. Hello, my name's Ivonne. I go by the eLearning Bestie, and I am an instructional designer in the field for about 10 years or so. I transitioned from teaching to instructional design, and I'm here sharing tips related to instructional design and more because I want to build community. I want to build a network. I want to share the knowledge that I have acquired throughout the years. I love helping other people, so here I am sharing tips with you. All right, so let's talk about why I left teaching. There are a couple of reasons why I decided to leave teaching. I think a lot of these reasons are common with people who are currently teaching. Maybe these reasons resonate with you, but let's talk about it. First one is burnout. Maybe that's a common thing in the field, but anyways, burnout for me was real. At the time, I did have the energy to keep up with the demands of teaching, but I knew that long term, that just wasn't the way that I wanted to go, and I was going very quickly. I was working extra hours. I was staying extra hours after school. I was putting extra overtime into creating these resources, these instructional resources, because let's be honest, a lot of the times as teachers, we all don't have access to the resources that we need to be able to individualize the instructions that students need. So I spent a lot of my extra time creating resources. I worked summers. I made sure that I put in the extra. I was just working a lot. So those who think that teaching is the type of career that is free and clear with you have all this extra time, you really don't. You really don't have the extra time because you're putting in the time after school, before the morning, during your planning period. In the summer, you might have to work extra hours. Maybe after school, you'll take up tutoring as a side gig because you have to supplement the income that's not coming in as a teacher. Another reason I decided to leave teaching was because I felt like growth was stagnant. I was at a crossroads. I was like, maybe I should pursue my master's in education, but then where would it really take me? What's the salary cap? I felt like I was just very limited as to what I could do as a teacher. And that's just my personal opinion. I know that's not true. Like, there are people who go on to be administrators and things like that. But for me, I just felt like that was just not the right fit. So there just wasn't room for career growth. And so that's one of the driving forces as to why I left teaching. Okay, another big reason why I left teaching is the salary. So let's be real, teachers don't really get compensated what they actually should get paid. They put in a lot of work throughout the year. It's a very tough job, and I feel like compensation salary is just not matching up. And so I said, this is not going to be great for me on the long road because salary needs to keep up with the rising cost of living. And if I wanted to expand my family, buy a house, it almost felt a little bit out of reach with the salary that I was receiving as a teacher. And so I knew that I needed to be productive and do something different that would generate more income and not work more. So I could have essentially taken on a couple part-time jobs, but then what time would I really have left for myself and my family, things like that. Salary, definitely a driving reason why I decided to leave teaching. Okay, and the last reason why I decided to leave teaching, this is very important. It was, and I spoke to this a little bit earlier, but work-life balance. Work-life balance. It goes hand in hand with like burnout. I felt like I really didn't have a good work-life balance because I was spending most of my time at the school. After school, I was still at the school. I was working on the weekends because I needed that extra time to be able to, grade paper, assignments. I needed to create the instructional materials. And it was just a lot of time that was being taken away from me, and I didn't like it. I didn't have a good work-life balance, and I knew that I needed a change, which is why I left teaching. There's not a good work-life balance, in my opinion. Now, with all that, I left teaching, but how did I even get into instructional design, right? Like, how did I even find it? This was a little over 10 years ago. Nobody really knew what instructional design was, but the way that I found it was through Google search. I was just Googling keywords, what can I do in education that's not teacher, and instructional design popped up, and I was curious. So at that point, I just started doing my research. I started doing extensive research about instructional design to see what it was about, what it really aligned with this new adventure that I was trying to pursue, the transition out of teaching. And it turns out that it did. And there was a fantastic program available very close to where I lived that was offering a master's program. And so I said, universe, this is your sign to me. This is your sign to me. It was a sign. That was a sign. So I decided in that moment, I'm like, I am going to pursue a master's in instructional design. And that is how I found it. Google.com, Google search, research. The more I researched, the more I knew that instructional design and teaching had a lot of similar skills. And so I knew that a lot of my teaching skills would be transferred into instructional design. How to lesson plan. I know a lot of people think that lesson planning, creating a lesson plan is not the same as instructional design, and it's not, but it does have similar features. So that's one skill that I knew I could transfer over to curriculum design, things like that. The creating of instructional materials, that was another thing. Even though it's not truly the same as instructional design, like course design and development process, is still a process that you're doing, right? Like you're taking the learner's needs into consideration, you're figuring out where it is that they need a little bit of support, and you're making the resources, right? You're making sure that you're taking learners' need into account. And so anyways, that's just a few of the skills that I knew would transfer in to instructional design from my teaching experience. So the actual transitions, I decided to apply to the university in my hometown, which just happened to be one of the best instructional design programs around. And I graduated from the same university, so I applied for the master's, and I got accepted, and I was thrilled. It took a couple of years for me to complete this master's, but I was determined to complete this master's while I was teaching, and so I was doubling down on the work. I was taking full courses each semester to do things as quickly as possible so I could learn as quick as possible, and I could transition into instructional design as quickly as possible too. And that's what I did. I pursued my master's, I did the coursework, I learned all the things, I networked a lot. I made sure that I made a lot of connections throughout my time at the program. I did a lot of research, and I also did a lot of self-learning, because the problem is that with my program at the time, they really didn't teach us any of the current course authoring tools. I had to learn that on my own, do the research, do the hands-on projects, things like that. But I did create a portfolio with the university. I did that throughout the way. And there was a lot of good things that I learned, theories related, how to work in the industry, how to do the course design and development process from start to finish. Like, I learned all that. There was an internship that I needed to complete in order to successfully complete this program. I needed to do an internship, and now I know that a lot of current programs don't have an internship process, or like the boot camp certification. Obviously you're not doing an internship, but I had to do an internship, and there were a few challenges for me because at the time I was teaching full-time. And I was pregnant. So I was pregnant, teaching full-time, and pursuing my master's in instructional design. So it came time for me to complete an internship, but I knew I couldn't really do it. I couldn't really do it with my current situation. Like, I needed to work full time, and I couldn't go unpaid. And so I went untraditional route, because a lot of internships at the time were unpaid. Now there are paid internships, thank God. But at the time, they weren't really paid, and I was like, okay, that's not really an option for me. What can I do? What can I do to be able to complete my internship? And what ended up happening was that I completed my internship at my first ever instructional design job because they agreed to help me out with that. And we did a couple of instructional design projects that went straight into my internship. And that's how I was able to complete my internship and my master's. So essentially, I started working in instructional design before I completed my master's. So I knew that in order to complete this program, I needed to transition to instructional design, an instructional design job early, because I needed the money because I was building a family and I can't, like, we need money to survive, right? So that's what ended up happening. Someone took a chance on me, and I want to put the caveat in there that at the time, that was just very unheard of. Like, a lot of companies required you to have a master's degree in instructional design, and they would not hire you unless you had a master's degree in instructional design. And I got a lot of rejections. Like, I put in a lot of applications and I got rejected a lot before someone, thank you, universe, and my mentor, who you are, gave me a chance, gave me an opportunity. And so that's why I do the stuff that I'm doing now, because I want to give people the opportunities. Like, sometimes you feel like you're stuck or you're restricted, or I don't know, because of all the rules and all the things that you need to do. But if you find the right opportunity, the right networking opportunity, that, you know, like, that could open doors for you. And I want to be able to help people do that. All right, let's talk about where I am now and why I love instructional design. Okay. Right now, I have been in instructional design, like I said, for over 10 years now. And I literally, like, when there's people out there who say, find your passion, da 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 da, and you'll just know. This is how I know. I know because when I wake up in the morning and I go to bed at night, I could do instructional design all day long and never get tired of it. I haven't gotten tired of it. And I feel like it's a type of career that it's always evolving, right? There's always something new to learn. There's always someone who's going to have a need to learn something. So in my mind, there's always going to be needs for instructional designers. And I never get tired. I never get tired of learning. And I never get tired of doing the instructional design side of things. I love course creation. I love building courses. I love being creative. Like, being an instructional designer is about creativity too, despite the misconception there is. You are a creative if you're an instructional designer, or if you're in a learning and development space, you have to have some sort of creativity in you. And so I love the career. Let's talk about work-life balance as an instructional designer compared to what it was in teaching. So my work-life balance has dramatically improved. Okay, I work from home. I have tons of work flexibility. I get to be creative. I get to have tons of PTO and mental health wellness breaks. I get to do a lot of professional development. And those are things that are very important to me. It gives me time to work on myself. It gives me time to spend with my family. It gives me time to do all the other things too, because at the end of the day, I'm a working parent like most people are, right? I am a working mother, okay? And I need to be able to keep up with the working life and mother and family and all the aspects gelled together, right? I need to have some sort of work-life balance, and that was so important for me. And I tell y'all, when I was pursuing my career in instructional design, or whenever I pursue like other job positions and things like that, I make sure that I make a little list. I write down all the things that I really want: good health insurance, good work-life balance, great PTO. Make a list of all the things that you want. And if the job does not fit the description, I don't even look at it. And that's exactly what I did. I went after opportunities that aligned with what I wanted. And so my work-life balance is great. I am very happy. Let's talk about salary. My salary more than doubled after I left teaching. It sucks to say it like that, but it is exactly what happened. And because my salary more than doubled when I left teaching, that automatically contributed to my quality of life. that just automatically gave it a boost. I was able to afford gas. I was able to afford a little bit more groceries, things like that. Like just little things that you're like, sometimes, dang, like these expenses add up. And now in my career, now I am at a very happy salary. We could talk, I'll make a different video about salary and salary transparency and things like that, and how to negotiate your salary, because that's another thing. Negotiation, especially for women and women of color and brown women like us, like you need to really be confident and advocate for the salary that you deserve, and like compared to other peers and things like that. You have to just do your research, and you have to advocate and negotiate. Make sure that you get the best of the best, because you deserve it. Yeah. So I am very fulfilled in life right now with my career. My career brings me joy and fulfillment, and I love making this type of content, and I don't think I'll ever get tired. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it on the shorter side. This is my first YouTube video, and I tend to talk a lot, so be ready for that, because my videos are gonna be long. This is just me being honest with you. But before I close out this video, I want to give some advice for anyone who is considering transitioning into instructional design, whether you're a teacher or anyone from any other field who's, ooh, this sounds interesting. First steps, I always tell everybody, is to do your research. Okay, do your research and think about, you're going to think about what really aligns with you. Okay, and then you're going to see if the skills that you currently have is something that you could easily transfer over. You're going to think about what sector you want to work in, because in instructional design, you can work in whatever sector. As long as there's a need for learning, there's always going to be a need for instructional designers, whether it's like higher education, K-12, tech, healthcare, you name it. There's a sector for everything. So you're going to think what aligns with you. What type of sector and what type of field do you want to be part of? And there's actually a resource that I'm going to drop in the links in this video that will help you figure out all of these things that I'm talking about. There's like a little quiz. It's going to be like, okay, let's answer some questions and figure out if you have the skills to be able to transfer into instructional design. If you don't, what steps do you have to take? What sector most interests you? Things like that. So those are like little things to consider when you're thinking about transitioning to instructional design. You got to think about, do you want to pursue a master's in instructional design? In my honest opinion, you don't need a master's nowadays to be able to transition, but there are other routes that you could take. There are certifications, there are boot camps. One thing's for sure, you do have to have some sort of foundational knowledge about instructional design, because like anything else, anything that you transition to, you have to know about it, right? You have to learn a little bit about it. Do your research, do your learning, and then jump into the transition. You could do anything. I say it all the time. People reinvent themselves all the time. You're never too old, or it's never too late to learn something new, to try something new. Never ever. So don't be discouraged by that. If you are feeling the need to transition and try something new, and instructional design has been catching your eye, then do your research and go for it. Go for it. Okay, so parting words, my goodbyes. Okay, if you're a teacher or anyone thinking about transitioning into instructional design, make sure that you drop the comments below and let me know what questions you want answered, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you're really into this type of content, please do me a solid, help a friend out, and subscribe so you could get more content related to instructional design, because you know your girl's trying to help you out here, trying to put into work, trying to help others out, just like someone did for me. I'm paying it forward. Yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.